I don't think we have any public comments, but if you'd like to take us through the vote, you have a motion by Vivian and a second by, I'm sorry, was that
McNamara.
McNamara? Wonderful.
And just to interrupt you, Vice Chair, to make a correction, we do not have an interpreter today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now I will call the vote.
Thank you.
City of San Diego, Vice Chair Vivian Moreno.
Aye.
County of San Diego, Supervisor Joel Anderson.
Aye, here.
East County, Jack Shu. Absent. Imperial County, Supervisor Jesus Eduardo Escobar. Absent. North County Coastal, Dave Drucker.
Yes.
North County Inland, Paul McNamara.
Aye.
South County, Chair Serge Dedina is absent. And the motion passes with those present.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next, we are going to move on to public comments, communication, member comments. Is there anybody on either COBRA or Borders Committee that would like to make a comment? Okay, well, I'll start it off. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's been a very difficult year. I think we all anticipated the political debates going towards going into the election last year. But we also experienced the unpredictable COVID-19 pandemic, the resulting economic crisis and the social struggles that are demanding changes, and some very serious changes, I would add. And our border was at the center stage. Restrictions imposed by non-essential travelers, contrast the increase in bilateral trade and volumes of trucks moving through the border since pre-pandemic times. Now we're in the early stages of the new USMCA, which will also, while also facing a humanitarian crisis at our border with children and families seeking refuge. It is within this context that we are now having another important discussion among the border stakeholders that form COBRO to review the updated border master plan and its innovative tools. So I'd like to give an opportunity to Chair Ganstar. Would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much, Chair Moreno. Indeed, this has been a difficult year, particularly for an important sector of our citizens who really need to cross the border to work on both. Later in the agenda, I'll present a very brief report, and I'd like to thank my
Chair Ganster, I'm sorry, we have some
colleague for today, and is Border Focus Group as part of a little government organization. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Chair, you know, one thing that I do it seems that your bandwidth is having some trouble. If I close my other items that I have open, that usually makes my bandwidth a little bit what is the word? Not stronger, but it eases the bandwidth. But thank you for attempting to make your comments. Hopefully we can get this fixed. We are going to move. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Do any of the committee members or anybody in the public wish to make a comment? I see Mr. Mark Basa. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make an announcement. As Borders Committee has been supportive to us ICTC, the Imperial County Transportation Commission, just last Wednesday, my board approved a $20 million contract with Hazard Construction to carry out the design build project for the Calexico East Bridge widening project. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you.
Difficult from now.
Anybody, any other committee members? I don't see anybody in the public. Oh, I do have a public.
Yes, we do have a member, Vice Chair Moreno, Miguel Aguirre.
Yes, good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. I just wanted to comment. I invited some of our Mexican collaborators to join this Zoom, and I'm a little disappointed we don't have an interpreter. You think it might be possible to get somebody on board?
Later in the agenda, I'll present a very brief.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Any other public members or committee members wishing to speak? Supervisor Anderson, I see you are on camera. Would you like to speak?
No.
Okay, no.
But thank you for asking.
Just making sure. No problem. Okay, we are going to move on to the next item, which is the executive director's report. I would like to invite, let me see who I'm inviting. I'm inviting Mr. Ray Trainer. He's our Chief Planning and Innovations Officer to provide the executive director's report today. Go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Chair Moreno. I'm filling in for Hassan today. And before I provide the executive director's report, I think I just wanted to take a moment, just reflect on some of the feelings that many of us here at Sandag share, and troubled by the recent violence against our Asian American friends and colleagues and neighbors. The reports of attacks on Asian Americans throughout the nation in recent months has just been tragic, and the deadly shootings in Atlanta last week are just terrible, and our hearts go out to everybody that have been impacted by these senseless acts. And I think as Hassan and Jim and the other members of the senior leadership team talked, it just began to crystallize our need to just continue to focus on mutual respect and to really think through and practice how we can celebrate diversity. And I just wanted to express that our team stands with all of our Asian American colleagues and Pacific Islander colleagues. And I think when you think about just the countless contributions that each of these individuals and groups have made, not only to our nation, but to our agency, we just want to recognize and just greatly appreciate every member of our Sandag team that does work to support the region. And maybe just as a reminder for those of you that are visiting in the Borders Committee, our board recently adopted an equity statement where we are making a commitment to equity, and we're working now to develop a comprehensive equity action plan that we'll be bringing back to all of the policy advisory committees, including the Borders Committee, later this year. And we just look forward to being able to continue our work and to help advance the cause of our region that's definitely focused on being more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive. In terms of providing now the update from the executive director, just a handful of items that I thought would be helpful for the members of the committees to have some awareness of. I think if you're familiar with what's happening with our rail and goods movement in the region, you're aware of what's happened with the recent bluff collapse up in Del Mar. So following that collapse last month, our team worked very closely with our colleagues at NCTV to conduct emergency repairs of the railway. And just over the last 2 weekends, the tracks have been closed as we've worked to really stabilize the bluff and work on all these projects that are really key for goods movement as well as passenger movement up and down the coastal corridor. One bit of good news that we're pleased to be able to share is just yesterday, the California Transportation Commission allocated about $11 million for emergency repairs on the bluffs. So this is really going to be key for us to be able to get that section that collapsed shored up. And we're going to continue to work not only with North County Transit District, but with the City of Del Mar, the State Parks Department, as well as the Sheriff's Department to ensure that beachgoers are going to be able to have the awareness of the danger that's just posed while we're doing our work and ensuring that people can continue to access the whole beach area safely. Rail traffic, though, is still limited in terms of the speeds. It's reduced now to 15 miles per hour for passenger and 10 for freight during this interim period. But our team is just working as hard as they can to make sure that the bluffs will be shored up and that we can resume full operations on the low sand corridor, which I think all of us acknowledge is just critically important for our region's economy and our security. The emergency work that we've got now planned is going to start here in April, and we should continue through July. And then as soon as we can, we're going to be able to get those tracks reopened to full operations. And then one thing just for your awareness, while all this emergency stabilization work is occurring now, we've had long plans to move the tracks further inland. And in fact, we've had a study underway for the last several months that's looking at alternative alignments, and those will be upcoming soon and be presented throughout the region as we look at ways to be able to get the tracks off the bluffs. Another bit of good news is our finance team continues to do some really amazing work when it comes to keeping our regional projects fueled up with the funds that they need to continue to move forward. Just this week, the team successfully refinanced our old 2014, excuse me, our old 2014 Series A bonds, and the lower interest rates, excuse me, the lower interest rates actually resulted in a savings of about $22 million to the taxpayers. So it's very good news. And at the same time, these bond deals now have provided some cash flow that's definitely needed, freeing up about $130 million for our Transnet Major Corridor program of projects. And speaking of Major Corridor program projects, our Mid-Coast Trolley project now is just about 90% complete. And this is the region's largest infrastructure project ever undertaken. And one of the things that we're so excited about is it offers a one-seat ride from the border all the way to UC San Diego. And so we're thrilled about the progress that our crews have made. They're now working on the final elements of the construction. So they've got the 9 stations that are a part of the Mid-Coast nearly complete. They're starting to do the landscaping work there. And they're also starting to do the work now on all the systems that are going to power the trolley as it makes its way up this new 11-mile corridor. The testing on this system now is going to begin in the summer, and then you'll start to see our iconic red trolleys traveling on the new railway as they're going through a test phase. And we're looking at celebrating the grand opening of what's now called the UC San Diego Blue Line Trolley extension later this year. Something that I think is maybe notable for all of the members of the committee to have some awareness of is that today marks the last day of Sandag employment for a very dear colleague of all of ours, and that's Jose Nuncio. Jose is going to be retiring from Sandag after nearly 19 years here. Jose and I were colleagues back together in our days at Caltrans District 11 and have worked quite closely over the years. I don't know if all of you are aware, but Jose has been our director of the Transnet department and has really been the lead when it comes to interacting with the Independent Taxpayers Oversight Committee. And he's been doing that since 2014 and really has become the region's expert when it comes to transportation finance and really helping to stretch the dollars as far as they can to really advance the region's biggest priorities. And he's just such a tremendous leader. He's built a solid team, and so they'll be able to pick up as Jose steps out. But he's going to be sorely missed, and I want to just recognize him and thank him for his years of service here to Sandag. And on a personal note, we'll miss him quite a lot as a friend. So Chair Moreno, that concludes the Executive Director's report, and I'd be happy to entertain a question if you or the members of the committee had one for me. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you for that. Do any panelists or attendees have any questions for Mr. Traynor? Seeing none, I want to thank you for being here and wish Mr. Nuncio a wonderful retirement. I hear every day is Saturday in retirement, and thank him also for all of his work on Transnet funding. Very great person to work with. I had the opportunity to work with him, and we couldn't have gotten where we are without him. So thank you very much. I'm sure you will not go too far, as we will probably be calling you just to say hello, but congratulations on your retirement. Thank you, Mr. Traynor. We are going to move on to item number 4, which is planning across the Baja California border. And this is going to be Chair Ganster giving us his presentation. It is an informational item, so no need for a motion. And Chair Ganster, if you are ready, the floor is yours.
I think I am, if you can hear me okay.
We could hear you perfectly well. Thank you.
Well, I live in a digital desert in Supervisor Anderson's district, and so communication is sometimes challenging. But anyway, I'm here. Thank you, Chair Moreno. I wanted to make a few remarks about planning on the U.S.-Mexican border, which is indeed a challenging task. There are only a few agencies, local and state, that are truly binational, that span the boundary and work across the border. For example, we have the federal agency of the International Boundary and Water Commission with the US and Mexican section that works on both sides of the border to resolve border sanitation issues. More recently, as part of the process, it created the North American Free Trade Agreement in 1994, and thereafter the North American Development Bank was created. And it's a unique binational agency that functions on both sides of the international border quite seamlessly. In recent decades along the border, as urban populations have exploded right up next to the international line, as we've seen increasing economic ties of trade and investment and growing cross-border flows of people, as well as environmental impacts, local agencies have needed to respond to trans-border challenges and opportunities. Planning and cross-border cooperation by local and state agencies has become important for the prosperity of the trans-border region. And really that region extends well beyond the immediate border region, but includes certainly all of San Diego County and extends northward. And of course, the full area of Baja California. Often this local trans-border cooperation by subnational entities is called paradiplomacy or microdiplomacy. In other words, local agencies are conducting informal diplomacy and work across the border. And it's no accident that transportation agencies are in the forefront of trans-border cooperation and work proactively with a long-term vision rather than simply responding to the latest border crisis. In our part of the border, work by SANDAG has been critical for cross-border planning. One element of that was COBRA, which was established in 1996. And another example would be the Otay Mesa, Mesa de Otay Binational Corridor Strategic Plan, developed by SANDAG and Mexican counterpart agencies, and was approved by SANDAG and the city of Tijuana in 2007. So this joint planning effort was really a tremendous step for cooperation along the border. Our Borders Policy Committee was created in 2001 as a key element in border collaboration, and that continues today. The many, many studies by SANDAG over the years provide a factual basis to support border policy decisions. I'd like to recognize a couple of important mechanisms of collaboration along the border that address border transportation infrastructure. Specifically, the U.S.-Mexico Binational Group on Bridges and Border Crossings, led by the two international relations departments, and also the Joint Working Commission committee led by the Department of Transportation of the U.S. and the Secretariat of Communications and Transportation of Mexico. They're responsible for planning ports of entry and border transportation infrastructure, a process that is very complicated and requires intense day-to-day and long-term interaction across the border. The Joint Working Committee envisioned the creation of a planning tool, and that is what we now know as the Border Master Plan, which incorporates all three levels of government on both sides of the border. In 2008, Caltrans and its counterpart in Mexico, CDUE, presented the first Baja California Border Master Plan. a tremendous and important effort at binational cooperation. The 2008 plan developed binational criteria for prioritizing port of entry and related transportation projects. It created a list of prioritized projects within the binational study area and prepared recommendations to institutionalize the dialogue among federal, state, regional, and local stakeholders in the US and Mexico. And of course, financing those efforts has always been a challenge. Well, fortunately, our region was successful in finding funds for a second border master plan exercise. And I should acknowledge Caltrans for this and its partner, the Federal Highway Administration. The 2014 border master plan update established new categories of ports of entry and transportation projects, developed transportation modeling frameworks for port of entry sensitivity analysis, and conducted a border-wide binational peer exchange to identify potential funding opportunities and sources. Just to conclude, let me and let Cheryl and Jose make their presentations. I want to mention that last month, the Baja California 2021 Border Master Plan Policy Advisory Committee approved the report, and today you're going to learn more about this, including a new tool for visualizing the border. So the critical Border Master Plan policy effort is really an ongoing process. The document is living and will continue to evolve in the future. So thank you very much. Chair Moreno.
Thank you for that. Now, if participants from the Border Committee or COBRA would like to offer any comments, please either turn on your camera to let us know at this time. I don't see any members of the public with their hands raised. So, let me see, we just got one. Give me a second. We are going to call Mr. Beecham.
There we go. Vivian, thanks for taking my mano levada. You know what I'm going to talk about. You understand of all the legislators in the region what this is all about. And since I talked to you, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Nothing's happened with this railroad. MTS has not been able to get anything to happen on the desert line. I presume they're in litigation. They're not saying anything to me. Chairman of MTS, I think he's too busy with COVID to give any kind of leadership on this thing. The Tijuana side, their locomotive's been breaking down. They broke down in San Ysidro, the only one they had. The state of Baja California, through their administration of the short line, they're just bleeding all the customers, and most of the customers now are transporting across the border by truck because they've raised the cost of using that train transit across the border. We still have cargo from the Toyota Tacoma factory crossing the border on car carriers. That should all be on trains going through the desert line, and it's not happening. Denise DeChaney had a comment years ago that both sides of the track should be put into an international, just as Dr. Ganster just commented in some of these international groups. But that hasn't happened, and it's just not working out. And we just dumped so much money with the Del Mar segment of the coastline. What was it, 10.5 million just to patch up the cliff there? It's really sad that there's been no leadership in San Diego to get this desert line that John D. Spreckles gave us, to give us 2 railroads so we could break a monopoly of BNSF. And that's affecting the movement of goods. So I'd ask people to give some attention to this. Maybe the Department of Transportation and SSAT can give something attention on their part. Pull the assignment away from the state of Baja California, which has been a disaster with Admi Carga. and just directly get a concession with some responsible party and get this line, desert line, running back again and get cargo moving in and out of Tijuana, Tecate. Ferromex is excited about it. Now that Canadian National and Kansas City de Mexico are together now, Ferromex are going to take them, give them a run for their money. So things in Mexico with rail are going to change. So this desert line and Tijuana Tecate line is an important situation, and it's just a mess. Nothing's happening because of, I don't like to use that word, but I won't say it, just because of non-coordination. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you for your comments. I don't see anybody else with their hands raised. So we are going to move on to the next item. And before I introduce our presenter, I want to share with you that on January 2020, I had the opportunity to participate in the kickoff meeting initiating the 2021 Border Master Plan process. So today I'm very pleased to hear the presentation of this very unique border planning tool. And Mr. Jose Manriquez from Caltrans, I'm sorry, Jose Marquez is presenting item number 5. So Jose, please feel free and take it away.
Thank you, Council Member. Good afternoon. My name is Jose Marquez. I oversee Caltrans District 11 Binational and Freight Planning Program, and I also serve as the co-manager for the California-Baja California 2021 Border Master Plan update. It's an honor to be here. Next slide, please. And thank you, Mr. Ganster, for your welcoming remarks. Like Paul was mentioning, the Border Master Plan helps coordinate the planning and implementation of port of entry projects as a system, along with the transportation facilities that provide access to the border crossings. And we heard from Paul, there have been several iterations, and today we're going to be presenting the recommendations from the 2021 Border Master Plan. Next slide. Like Council Member Moreno was mentioning, we had our kickoff meeting at Caltrans District 11 back in January of last year, and with the participation for the first time of CalSTA Secretary and David Kim and Secretary Karen Postlewhite from SEDUR. We had a couple of face-to-face meetings before we switched to a virtual platform due to COVID-19. Next slide. This process involves nearly 40 agencies from the United States and Mexico at federal, state, and regional and local levels. We also have the participation of 2 binational agencies, and you can see those in your screen. Next slide. And here's some of the Mexican agencies that participated in the process. So you can imagine, every different agency has different missions, different visions for the border, different priorities. And this, what this plan is trying to do is to try to develop a comprehensive and a joint vision for the next 20 years. And that's not an easy task, like Mr. Paul was mentioning. Next slide, please. The BMP study area was approved by its Policy Advisory Committee in both the 2008 and 2014 studies. It includes an area of influence and a focused study area. The area of influence is the geographic area 60 miles or 100 kilometers north and south of the California-Baja California international border. In California, it includes the counties of San Diego and Imperial. And in Baja California, it includes the municipalities of Tijuana, Rosarito, Tecate, Mexicali, and the urbanized area of Ensenada. Current and projected data of population, employment, land use, and income were gathered for this area of influence. And we also have a focused study area. And this is the area that is 10 miles north and 10 miles south of the international border. And you'll see that dark band within in the map. Here is where we focused on what are the port of entry and transportation projects and improvements that need to be included in the Border Master Plan. Next slide, please. Some of the key accomplishments of the 2021 Border Master Plans are, well, it engaged stakeholder groups in the border region to identify transportation issues and help inform innovative strategies that we developed. It also developed a forecast of border statistics and develop profiles for every port of entry of its existing conditions. It also helped develop innovative strategies and white papers for improving our binational transportation system. It updated port of entry and binational transportation project information, and also helped identify funding opportunities and recommendations. And finally, we created a Border Master Plan website, calibajaBMP.org, and a Border Master Plan story map that you're going to see later today. Next slide. These are some of the highlights of our outreach activities, but there was a lot more outreach that was conducted as part of the Border Master Plan effort, including outreach to establish binational forums such as COBRO, INVA, the Smart Border Coalition, and Borders. Next slide, please. Through our outreach efforts, we identify key transportation issues at the border. Every time we talk about the border, most of the time we focus on border delays, but there's more issues at the border than just border delays or border wait times. There's also for pedestrians at night. One of the things that we heard from them is we need more lighting. There's poor signage. We also lack bike amenities and a bike network that connect our border transportation system with the rest of the region. There's poor signage, poor infrastructure, and we not only face long border delays, but it's sometimes they're unpredictable, and most of the times you don't even know how much it's going to take you to cross the border. Next slide. Thank you. Thanks to our outreach efforts and our stakeholder engagement, this helped us identify 11 objectives to improve our binational transportation system. And I'm just going to mention a couple. One of the things that we heard again and again is we need to start promoting a mood shift from single occupancy vehicles to a more active and transit transportation. We also need to promote the efficient movement of people and goods. Let's also think about the first and last mile connections at the border. Don't forget the air quality. Last month we heard the report about border delays and its economic impacts, and also GHG impacts and emission impacts. So we also need to think about the border in a more comprehensive way. Another one is Objective J is we need to promote a safe, sustainable, and efficient freight flows. Next slide. One of the things that really excited me about this update was during this process and during our stakeholder engagement, we developed a series of visionary workshops and surveys where we wanted to think outside of the box. One of the things that we realized is, and just think about this, in the next 5 years, our big infrastructure improvements at the border, those are going to be done. They're going to be completed. Last year, we completed the modernization of San Isidro Port of Entry. GSA is currently modernizing Otay Mesa, Port of Entry. And by 2014, we're going to open Otay Mesa East. We also opened a transit facility at Otay. We have Virginia Avenue transit facility that was open a couple of years ago. 10 years ago, we opened State Route 905. So those big mega projects were almost going to be done within 5 years. So what's next? What else can we do? We need to start thinking beyond infrastructure improvements. So we convened a group of academia, regional agencies, and also the private sector to help us think outside of the box. And we got a lot of really good ideas. Next slide. In fact, we got hundreds of them. Hundreds of ideas that we could actually implement at the border. Next slide, please. We developed a master list of all those different potential ideas and actions, and we classify them in 3 main categories. Those ideas that help improve the travel experience for the public, those that they make a more sustainable, efficient movement of goods, and those that help their help are the coordination between all those close to 40 agencies that touch the border. We refine these ideas, and we develop a set of over 30 different strategies. Next slide, please. These strategies help us, and for the first time, we have thanks to our outreach activities and also our stakeholder engagement, we have a common vision for the border. This vision calls to promote an efficient mobility, modernize the management operation of our binational system, improve the experience of border crossers, and create a sustainable and resilient border region. This vision also helps guide our efforts to improve the movement of people and goods and proactively manage the border as a binational network of crossings. Next slide. Going back to the strategies, those outside of the box ideas. Here you can see some of the strategies that are aimed to improve the movement and the experience for pedestrians, cyclists, transit, and passenger vehicles. These can be short, mid, or long term. These aim to facilitate a more efficient crossing and access to ports of entry while enhancing the travel experience itself. And I'm just going to mention a couple of them. Like PM5, we need to start developing a dedicated bicycle network that is truly binational. And the strategies that you see in red, those were selected by our stakeholders to develop it into white papers. These white papers include a discussion of these concepts. What are the challenges to implement these concepts? Some considerations, implementation steps, and high-level cost estimate to implement these concepts. Next slide. And in this slide, we identify 9 innovative strategies to improve the movement of freight. And I'll mention a couple. One, I think, is expanding our unified cargo processing program. And GM2 is implementing an appointment and arrival system in a staging area. Next slide. To improve the movement of people and goods, we need to work better. We need to work better, all of us. We also need to identify a number of the strategies that do that help government agencies coordinate better their work and provide adequate information to the public. These are some of the strategies that help achieve us that. Oh, and the ones in red are the ones that actually were picked, again, from our stakeholders picked to develop into white papers. Next slide. And I'm gonna talk about these white papers. Next slide. Again, one of the one that we do to improve people is smart pathway and some pedestrian enhancements. For goods movement, we want to expand our unified cargo processing program and also deploy non-intrusive inspection technologies and an arrival window and in a staging area. And for collaboration and coordination, we would like to implement a regional border management system and start providing cross-border transit services. Next. For people movement. Next slide. Okay, so we know all the challenges that pedestrians face at the border. And these are particularly challenging in Imperial County. Just imagine crossing the border as a pedestrian with over 100-degree weather. We still have manual inspections, and I'm not going to name all of the different challenges that you're very familiar with. So next slide. So we started thinking, what else can we do? In addition to those infrastructure improvements, what else can we do? And we look at best practices across the world, and especially at a major international airports. How do they deal and manage the flow of people at those airports? Next slide. And I'll give an example. Imagine this concept implemented at the border. So you're planning to cross from Tijuana on Saturday at 5 o'clock. Instead of just going to the border, you can just use your phone, make an appointment. I'm going to cross the border at 5 o'clock. Or when you go to the border, you make an appointment at a kiosk. There's a lunch area where you can sit and wait for your appointment because you're like 15 minutes early. You can charge your phone, there's Wi-Fi. And then you get a notification when your time is up for you to cross the border. And through the use of technology, you enter a pathway, a smart pathway, where different technology elements will scan your features and also your luggage, and then you can just easily cross the border. Next slide. This concept can be tied with other elements. Imagine having maybe you're there like a half an hour before your appointment. We can have a playground. There can be an information desk. There can be restrooms. Get a coffee, charge your phone. You have Wi-Fi. Maybe there's some bike sharing program right next to the border. So the idea is, next slide. The idea is to improve the crossing experience of the pedestrians, and just imagine all the benefits. And these are some just potential benefits that are on to establishing a concept like this. In our next concept or white paper, next slide, is for goods movement. Next slide. So, and we all know all the different challenges that freight has at the border. Long wait times, there's emissions, economic impacts. But imagine a concept like this, next slide, where through the use of technology and also coordination, we expand our unified cargo processing program. And for those who are not familiar with this program, is where you have US Customs and US and Mexican Customs do their inspection at the same time. That way we speed up the processing for trucks. Right now we have it for some, especially for the manufacturer industry, for maquiladoras. You have to be part of that program, but maybe we should expand it to include other goods, like agricultural goods. Next slide. Next slide. And this can be also tied with an appointment arrival window system, where a truck driver will say, I'm going to cross my truck 10 o'clock on Wednesday. You'll make your appointment, kind of like like for pedestrians. You'll make an appointment, and maybe if you got there 20 minutes before, there's a staging area, and maybe in the future, if you're driving a zero-emission vehicle, a truck, you can charge your truck. The truck driver can use the facilities. They can charge their phone if they need to. They can check their Wi-Fi, and then they'll get a notification. Now is your time to cross the border. Next slide, please. And there's a number of potential benefits. Just start thinking about the potential benefits. And these are some: economic impacts, benefits, reductions in emissions, and reductions in travel times for freight. Next slide. Another concept that we like to do and implement at the border is, next slide, we need to start thinking about the border not as the individual pieces. So like we have our transit system, we have a port of entry here, a road here. We start thinking it as a system. So we need to develop a regional border management system to manage all these pieces in a more comprehensive way. Next slide. This will, we're going to need a lot of data management to develop this. So we need to start thinking about how are we going to coordinate what type of information that we need to use and detect. Next slide. And of course, this is where we're going to be. We will have to work all levels of governance to deploy the system like this from both sides of the border. Next slide. Another thing that is key is we also need to start thinking about, we need to have some performance metrics for us and for the border as a system. Not just look at border delays, but that going beyond that. Next slide. And tied to this collaboration efforts is this region needs to start thinking about providing transit services that are truly binational. In cities like New Mexico, Ciudad Juarez and El Paso, they already have a bus route that actually crosses the border. Why not San Diego and Tijuana? Next slide. And here are some of the potential benefits of the regional border master management system. Again, benefits for the economy, for emissions, and these just are just a number of those. Next slide. And here are also some of the benefits, potential benefits that a binational transit system can have. Like it's trying to do that mode shift from personal vehicles to transit at the border. Next slide. And another thing that the Border Master Plan does is it spells out a set of recommendations, and these are spelled out in the report, that help us guide the conversation and our efforts, all these agencies that participated in the Border Master Plan effort for the next 5 and 20 years. One of the things that we want to do, can you go back to that slide, is we need to start thinking, and we want to maintain this coordination effort. We need to start working better and coordinating better. Look at the border as a system, promote multimodal access at the border, and the ease of goods movement, and provide a framework to prioritize border efforts and investment. This is what the Border Master Plan is trying to achieve. Next slide. Thank you. And with that, I'm open for any questions. If not, we have the voice.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Now, once again, if participants from the Borders Committee or COBRO would like to offer any comments or questions, please either turn on your camera or raise your hand at the time. And let's see, I see Mr. Gustavo de la Fuente. The floor is yours, sir. You are muted, so if you could unmute yourself.
Hello, council member. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I do want to thank Jose for providing this great explanation. Thank you, Jose, for taking the time. And I'm sure the team has worked many hours on this. We were actually, as a Smart Border Coalition, we were participants in the visioning exercise last year and enjoyed it substantially. So I guess the question is, many of these great ideas and things that we as a group and certainly I'm sure others will be in agreement with me that we all need to better integrate our borders and look at them as a system. My question is really more in the execution side. Are you thinking, how are you thinking about this in terms of implementation, Jose? And I know some things are short term, others are medium or long term, but are you considering this as a government sourced kind of a strategy for resources, or are you thinking more of a private-public partnerships, or do you, in some cases, do you think that the private enterprise should get involved and actually use and implement the project 100%? What are the considerations so far about this?
I think it's all of the above, and thank you, Gustavo. I remember your interventions for those visionary workshops. I mean, we got really good feedback from the Smart Border Coalition. And for the implementation, And the previous two to be border master plans, like Paul was mentioning his opening remarks, it's been very difficult to fund by national planning efforts. But we want to continue this this border master plan to be a living document. One of the things that we're proposing, and Caltrans is going to be taking the lead with our partners, is we continue to have our border master plan meetings at least once a year, so we can update these recommendations. And we're going to start developing these concepts, especially those white papers, with the feedback from you. And actually, I'm not going to jump at it, but we have some homework for you to actually help us develop these innovative strategies. I don't know if I answer your question, Gustavo, but yeah, but we'll continue to collaborate on a number of these strategies. Like some of these are going to be led primarily by government agencies. Others are going to be a combination between private and also academia.
Does that conclude your comments? I'm sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Jose. No, I can see there's plenty of opportunity here to help, to get involved in the process. It's just kind of the beginning of it. So it's we'd be happy to participate. I think this is tremendous what you're doing here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other committee members from COBRO or from Borders who would like to make comments or ask questions before I go to the public? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to take it over to the public, and we're going to start with Mr. Flavio Olivieri. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Olivetti.
Okay, thank you very much. The mic is open now. Yes, I just wanted to encourage the participation as many stakeholders in the cross-border dynamic.
Oh, we lost you.
Yeah, it was muted and now it's unmuted again. I'm sorry about that. So I was saying that I would like to encourage broad participation in the white paper of people management, especially focused on the cross-border dynamic of small and medium-sized enterprises in the services trade. We have a unique opportunity to attract investment in high value-added activities. So I think that should be taken into account as we shift the paradigm from thinking of the border as a pass-through dynamic into a destination dynamic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Oliveira.
Thank you for your comments. I don't see any other members of the public with their hands raised. Clerk, if you could just verify that information.
Yes, Vice Chair Moreno, there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Well, first off, I want to thank staff for this presentation. Jose, thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge Caltrans, SANDAG, Secretaría de Infraestructura, Desarrollo Urbano y Reordenación Territorial del Estado de Baja California, Instituto Metropolitanos de Planeación, and all the 17 agencies on both sides of the border that contributed to this, the completion of the California-Baja California 2021 Border Master Plan. The BMP continues to be groundbreaking, as it will allow the US and Mexico to focus on specific innovative strategies in the border region. We have two sovereign nations working together on the planning of our ports of entry and supporting roadways. This is why the BMP is incredibly groundbreaking and such an important planning tool. The initial California-Baja California Border Master Plan was completed in 2008 and later updated in 2019. And many of the projects included in the previous BMPs are moving forward. This is a true testament of the efficiency of the previous versions of the master plan. And this is why we must shift to focus on the strategies identified in the 2021 BMP. This 2021 update takes a deeper dive in over 30 different strategies identified that we need to analyze. And so I think your approach to the white paper speaks volumes about the sophistication of this BMP by focusing on 3 strategies that will help us plan for contiguous growth on both US and Mexico sides of the border. You know, I don't have to tell this group, but the economics of both nations are intertwined, and we have a direct impact to the millions of lives on both sides of the border. So these efforts allow our Cali-Baja region to compete in an international arena. Therefore, it makes us one of the most important regions in North America. And you know, by working together, agencies in the US and Mexico are helping provide efficiency and cross-border mobility. I look forward to discussing this border master plan and the 3 white pages with leaders in Washington, DC, and also in El Distrito Federal. And we will continue to work on improving our region's infrastructure to be, as author Michael Malone said in his book, El Tercer País, an international model of binational cooperation and efficiency. I would like to respectfully request that this item be presented at the Transportation Committee as an informational item. And with that, we're gonna thank you for the presentation, and we're gonna move on to the next item. And I believe we have Cheryl Mason with Sandag Service Bureau is presenting the next item, which is the Baja California Border Master Plan website and story map. So Ms. Mason, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Moreno, and thank you, Co-Chair Ganster and committee members and the public. I'm too am delighted to be here with you today to share this new tool that was developed as part of the Border Master Plan effort. And it's a tool that will help visualize and tell the story of our border. The story map tool is accessed from the Border Master Plan website, the calibahabmp.org. And so we're going to start there for the demo. I'm want to make sure, are you all seeing the website? Chair Moreno, are you seeing the website? Yes. Excellent, thank you for confirming. This Border Master Plan website was designed to help us coordinate the effort and to communicate with the member agencies and also with the public. It's available it's in English and it's in Spanish, all of the information. And it just is a very simple website to help coordinate information. I'll give you a 2-minute overview, a little bit about the Border Master Plan with some fact sheets in English and Spanish that can be downloaded, our charter, and a list of all the participating agencies. The report section not only gives the 2021 Border Master Plan, the executive summary in English and Spanish, which is also attached to your agenda item, but also the final report and the technical appendix. And it also provides the reports for the 2008 and the 2014 Border Master Plans as well. The meetings, we actually have all of our meetings posted to the website. There were 9 meetings. It was a tremendous amount of work for the technical working group representatives specifically, as well as the policy advisory committee members. There's some pictures of our kickoff meeting, one of the first face-to-face meetings that we were able to have with our effort here. And then all of the agendas, agreements, and PowerPoints are included on the website. The data portal is a members only site for submitting projects. And Contact Us is actually very nice because it goes directly to Jose. And so he'll get all those emails, questions, and ideas and can respond directly. But here's our story map. Here is where we live, and this is how you get to it. So it's the calibahabmp.org. And now I'm going to take you into just a little preview of that story map. This is really our first attempt to use this kind of technology to help visualize and tell the story of our border. One of the improvements that we will be making to the site as soon as resources are available is to translate the site into Spanish. So right now it is just in English. But nonetheless, I'm delighted to give you an overview of the story map. And we hope it will be a useful tool for not only helping our public understand our border, but especially individuals and agencies that are in other states and don't really know our border. We hope it'll increase the understanding. and increased understanding of who we are, some of the challenges, and how the Border Master Plan is helping to coordinate and resolve some of those issues. You'll see that there is a menu here across the middle of the screen, and you can jump to each item, or as you go through the Border Master Plan story map, you just can scroll through and get an overview of statistics and charts on people crossings. As you continue to scroll, you'll see the charts on passenger vehicle crossings. Truck crossings are coming up now. We've included some high-level statistics on trade value via truck, and then some of the mode share for each of the individual ports of entry. Continuing just to scroll down, there's some information on and more information on international trade, an overview of the challenges. Just to break up a lot of the text, we've included the logos of all the participating agencies here. This is the US-based partner agencies in the Border Master Plan. A couple of paragraphs to explain the Border Master Plan and the co-project managers of this plan. And that's followed by the logos of the Mexico-based partner agencies. Our goals are included on the story map, as well as the project cost and the schedule that it took for us to complete this. Continuing to move down is our innovation section, and this is the innovative border improvement strategies. And this is really the piece that Jose has just described, and we want to keep the consistency by including these same charts and slides in our effort here. So you've really got the outreach. You can see by clicking to the right, you can get to the strategies. You can see the border vision, and then it takes you through, and I'll go quickly, the different strategies for each of the areas of people movement, good movement, or collaboration and coordination. Continuing to move down, we move right into the white papers. And these are the selected strategies, as Jose had described, for these three different categories. And they're really set up also for scopes of work to kind of give us a head start if funding should become available to move forward on some of these efforts. But these are also set up to be similar as the slides that Jose has shared. So the people movement one goes in a little bit with what this is, why it's needed, what are these concepts that we're looking at, images to help visualize those concepts and the benefits. Continuing down, you can see that we have something similar set up for the goods movement white papers, the collaboration and coordination white paper. They work the same way. And then jumping here, I'm going to go to the menu to jump to this piece, to our proposed projects. And this is something that Jose did not touch on so that we could show you how it works here with the visualization. But one of the key tasks in the 2021 Border Master Plan is the identification of port of entry and related transportation projects. This task is developed with the help of the Border Master Plan member agencies who submit these infrastructure or port of entry projects that are already in approved planning documents. So this is a little different than the innovative strategies that Jose was describing, which are more in the early conceptual planning stages or are still ideas or concepts. These are actually in approved documents. So through this effort, we identified 183 port of entry and related transportation projects. That's a total. And it represents an investment of approximately $13.5 billion for the US border region over the next 20 years. A summary table here gives you a little bit of an overview of the types of projects that we were looking at, how these are divided by number of projects, and also the costs that of each one of these categories. And then the visualization begins. As you scroll down to a specific port of entry, you'll notice that the map changes. And it shows those projects that are specifically designed to primarily serve the particular port of entry that is showing. To give you a quick overview, here's the menu, or the legend is here on the bottom left-hand side, and it describes the different symbology that is used for understanding the map. Most of these projects are you're gonna see the purple lines for the roadway projects. You'll see the yellow lines for rail projects or trolley projects or transit projects, and the red is the pedestrian and bike projects. So those are the key ones that you're going to see as we look through these slides. You'll also have a ability to expand the map image here and look at the projects a little bit more detail. You can zoom in or zoom out. And for each one of the projects that are in here, if you click on the project itself, it brings up a little pop-up box that gives the name of the project, the municipality or the county and where the project resides, and the project number so that it can be referenced back to the Border Master Plan report, as well as a brief description and the completion year. To get back to the actual base part of the story map, you just click that expand button and close that, and you can then start just working your way through and get this visualization of the projects associated with Cross Border Express. And I'll just scroll through these: Otay Mesa, Mesa de Otay 1, the new Otay Mesa East, Otay 2, the few projects that were submitted for Tecate. And we move into Imperial County now with Calexico West, Mexicali 1, Calexico East, Mexicali 2, and then finally Andrade and Los Algodones. So for each of these, you get that nice visualization of those projects that primarily serve that port of entry. The story map also includes the recommendations, and this has a few of the sub bullets that help explain those particular recommendations for the Border Master Plan. And there's an also click for the Get Involved button. It's a click back to the Border Master website as well. The Contact Us, again here, the contact goes directly to Jose for ideas or discussion or questions. And then there's a printable resource here that's actually quite nice. And it's actually just a PDF of just everything that we've just looked at, and it can be downloaded and printed, and it's a handy document to take places if needed. And that gives, let me go back up to the overview here. And that really provides us a quick overview of the tool and this opportunity to tell our border story and projects and strategies that will hopefully make our border more efficient. And thank you, Chair Moreno, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this demonstration.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. If participants from Borders Committee or COBRA would like to offer any comments or questions, please either turn on your camera or raise your hand at this time. My screen, I can't see my screen, so if somebody could help me, if there's anybody who would like to speak. I see Miss Laura from, the floor is yours.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'd just like to offer my congratulations. I know that this has been such a huge endeavor. And the result, the information, and this website is just something that brings hope to everyone in our binational community. So congratulations to everybody involved in helping put this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And Miss Ann Fox.
Hi, good afternoon. I get the task of adding on an assignment to these last two presentations. I'm Ann Fox, and I'm the Caltrans District 11 Planning Deputy. And circling back to the white papers that we've heard about, I get to hand out or foreshadow some assignments before we move on to the next agenda items. So all of you are going to get some homework to do, at least for the local, the stakeholder members here. And again, you've been hearing and seeing from Jose and Cheryl quite passionately. You can hear them talk about the Border Master Plan. And within that, the three white papers that explore the innovative strategies for the smart pathways, the unified cargo processing, the appointment, arrival windows, the regional border management systems. So, and even hearing today from the members, the want to continue this effort. So we're going to be asking both the Borders Committee and COBRA members to foster or adopt one of those white paper topics and to really become a champion for that effort. So after today's meeting, our Borders and COBRA members, you'll be receiving an email, a copy of the 2021 California Baja California Border Master Plan and the 3 white papers that were presented today. And then at future meetings, we're going to bring back this topic and ask you to kind of vote for your favorite, right? What those ones you want to adopt and take in and to provide that ownership to continue moving it forward. And just to keep that excitement high for the border planning efforts. So again, the idea is to keep bringing white papers to this committee so you can continue to provide your feedback as well as implementing the concepts within there. So again, please pay close attention, to look for upcoming emails from the project teams. The details will all be in the emails. And again, don't forget to do your homework. We're all getting an assignment. And with that, I'll just thank you and turn it back over to you, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Is there a way for staff to maybe add the link to the panelist chat and also the attendee chat so that people have easy access to it? I think that will help out getting our homework done. So I don't see any other panelists with their hands raised, and I don't see any members of the public wishing to speak. So I'd like to thank staff for the presentation. A key component of the 2021 BMP is this website and the story map. And as we saw, this web-based tool, it has an interactive map that includes the border crossing statistics and information about border projects all in one website. This is so vitally important because when we're speaking to legislators from Washington, DC, and Mexico City, sometimes we struggle getting the message across and telling our story. And as you guys saw today, this web base is already live, and we could really help these federal officials and other stakeholders understand the national importance of these infrastructure projects and also the challenges of the border region, right? And at the end of the day, this is going to help us bring money to our region for our infrastructure efforts. So thank you so much for everybody who was a part of this. We really, truly appreciate it. And we are going to move on to the next item, which is item number 7. I would like to introduce Ms. Maria Rodriguez Molina from Sandag and our good friend Mario Orso from Caltrans to present this item, which is update on the State Route 11 and future Otay Mesa East Port of Entry project. And so, and let me see if I have any notes. If you guys want to take it over.
Thank you, Chair. We'll start as the presentation is being loaded up. Maria will be giving the majority of the presentation. We're excited about Otay Mesa East moving ahead. Some important decisions and work is coming ahead. And I think it's important that we keep abreast the Borders Committee, being that it's our sponsor and champion committee on this project. So we'll just begin. Maria, you want to take it over?
Thank you, Maria. If we can go to the next slide, please. You're probably very familiar with all of these statistics, so I'll try to go fast for the next couple of slides. But here we want to highlight the importance of the San Diego Baja mega region to the economic engine of this county, state, and nation. The new port of entry will build upon this economic opportunity. So let's go to the next slide. As you know, San Isidro is the busiest land port of entry and in the Western Hemisphere, and the Otay Mesa is the second busiest commercial crossing along the US-Mexico border. Next slide. So The trade between the United States and Mexico has increased by 45% over the past decade, and this trend is anticipated to continue under the ratification of the new USMCA trade agreement. We know that since travel limitations were put in place due to COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a decrease in people crossings in the border. However, the commercial traffic has increased by more than 8% from comparing this year's data to 2019 data. And we do acknowledge that there have been significant improvement at the San Diego border crossing as well as the Otay Mesa border crossing, but this is not going to be enough to meet the future demand, and we do need a new port of entry, as we're all aware. So let's look at the new port of entry Otay Mesa East benefits in the next slide, please. So not only the port of entry will provide a fast, predictable crossing of 20 to 30-minute wait time, but it would also reduce the peak wait times at the other ports of entry by about 50% on opening day. Otay Mesa East will fuel the economic growth. In fact, one of our recent studies highlighted a 10-to-1 return of investment for the San Diego region, meaning that for every dollar we spent on the project, we get $10 in return to the regional economy. We also estimated that the corridor program will result in 7,000 jobs, either created directly, indirectly, or induced by the increased worker spending. Also, the POE operations and maintenance will add about 360 jobs. The new port of entry will strengthen border security and resiliency with new operational innovations that will ensure secure and efficient crossings, such as the non-intrusive inspection equipment from CBP that is planning to implement at this port of entry as a pilot for us. In addition, Otay Mesa will reduce the waiting times, therefore reducing the idling trucks and cars that are so detrimental to our region's air quality. We estimated that about 22% reduction of CO2 will be achieved by year 2035. We'll also enhance the regional mobility with the use of interchangeable passenger and commercial vehicle lanes that will maximize the efficiency and improve the mobility. And we'll tell you a little bit more about these interchangeable lanes later on the presentation. And finally, Otay Mesa East will promote the economic growth of the San Diego region, the state of California, and the United States. So I give you a lot of information, but to summarize all of this, the $1 billion project will be the nation's first transformative land port of entry that will integrate innovative technologies aimed to reduce crossing times, traffic congestion, vehicular emissions, while enhancing cross-border travel, safety, and trade. We can go to the next slide, please. So let's look at the project where we are today. We've acquired all of the right-of-way for both the roadway and the port of entry. We have funded and are currently under construction on all of the elements for the roadway, which includes the southbound to westbound connector on 905, which we want to highlight. It's funded with SB1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program Cycle 1. So as the road gets to its completion really soon, now we're really focused on the port of entry and the CBF facility. We've been working closely, coordinating with Mexico on both the compatibility of the port of entry and the roadway. And we've been working with CBP and GSA on all of the technical requirements for the new port of entry. And here we have 120 acres for the port of entry and the CBF facility, the commercial vehicle enforcement facility. And we have a blank canvas to do the most efficient and cost-effective project. This site is 120 acres and it's bigger than Disneyland. Next slide, please. Here we would like to give you an update of the construction of the roadway and all of the connectors. I think you have the video in the folder. We're about 70% complete on the roadway. These are the main lanes going to the port of entry. As you can see, we've paved already all the main lanes going to the port. That building is the new Amazon building. And this would assume you're driving to the new port of entry. This is how it's going to look in the future. And that's the site for the port of entry. Thank you. If we could go back to the presentation, please. We have created a virtual tool online, so you can see more pictures of the project and see some of the information about each location. And it's on the Keep San Diego Moving /SR11. As soon as here it is, the exact link. So if you want more information, please go to this new site. Next slide, please. This is the concept layout that shows the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry and the commercial vehicle enforcement facility. On opening day, we'll have a 5x5 facility, and that is 5 lanes for passenger vehicles and 5 lanes for commercial vehicles, northbound and the same southbound. The lanes will be interchangeable. That allows us to switch passenger vehicle lanes to process commercial vehicle lanes and vice versa, to meet the peak demand throughout the day and to make it more efficient. The project will include a lot of innovations. As I mentioned before, CBP would like to implement new technology to inspect non-intrusive inspection equipment as every single truck and car comes through. This should make it more efficient and secure. Next slide, please. As I was mentioning before, we're really focused on the POE, and we have received a grant from the SB1 TSEP program for $42.5 million. With these funds, we'll be doing utility relocation at the port of entry. We're moving 2 major gas lines, and we're also bringing all of the new utilities to the port. So we're bringing water, sewer, electricity, and communications. And we're also starting a design contract in the next couple of months to really start diving into the POE and the CBF design. Next slide, please. Thank you. And with this, I'll pass it on to Mario to talk about coordination with Mexico.
Thank you, Maria. You know, as you can see, Maria is a great project manager for the project. I'm also very pleased to have working with us 3 other project managers, Jacqueline Appleton-Dean, Nicola Bernard, and Carrie Robinson. So the 4 of them have done all this wonderful work that you see, together with a huge team that supports us, including the Borders Committee here. Before diving into this slide, Maria was mentioning the SB1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program funds, and Ray was mentioning at opening remarks some funds that went to the LOSAN. Well, yesterday the CTC allocated the $42.5 million for that Maria just mentioned. So we really are appreciated. They awarded them in December, and the let's say the checks on the mail now that the CTC has allocated the funds. So thanks a lot to CTC and for all of your support here at the Borders Committee. We always get asked, where is Mexico? Mexico has been working on acquiring the right-of-way, designing their roadway, and they've also started securing their designers for the port of entry. In the past months, Executive Director Hassani Krata, Secretary David Kim for Transportation for California, as well as my district director, my boss, Gustavo Dallarda, and we've met with the high officials at the Mexican government, including Secretary of Transportation Arganis, as well as the Administrator of Customs in Mexico and Foreign Relations Ministry officials. And we're working on an MOU that we're hoping to execute with Mexico next month. The key elements of this memorandum of understanding for this project is one single toll location on the US side. The tolls will be shared between both countries. The ITS elements will have dual functionality or mirror functionality on both countries that will talk to each other. And the big element is that we're agreeing to strive to open this facility by the end of 2024. That's huge because we now have a marker that we're working towards. Let's go to the next slide. So there's a lot of elements that need to line up for this project. I would say that the next 12 months are going to be critical for the delivery of this project. And this is where we're going to need the help of COBRO. We're going to need the help of the Borders Committee and all of you, because in order to line up the financing, which is the lower element there, funding the construction phase, Maria has talked that she's going to start together with the rest of the team on utility relocations. We've started the design, but we really need to align the agreements and the financing strategy. And those are very tough conversations that we're going to be having in the near future. And therefore, that's where we're going to need a lot of support from leadership. The funds, the CTC has allocated the funds. We have them to go all the way up to financing or bonding. But now we need to staff up internally. We need to also have negotiations with our partners in Mexico, negotiations with our federal partners, CBP for staffing. So the fun is just starting, and we really are going to be excited to work on this as a staff, but also coming and reporting in a regular manner here to the Borders Committee. Let's go to the next slide. So this is just the schedule. It talks about the main elements of that we need to deliver and by when. But at the end, the biggest takeaway here is the end of 2024 is what we're targeting to open this facility. And you could see in between all the different decisions that need to happen, all the different conclusions or elements that need to be delivered. A package with CBP of what they want, what the port of entry is going to look at the beginning, the investment grade traffic and revenue that's going to tell us how much we can bond, a business case to show the benefits. And we've done several cost benefit analysis, and I think Maria mentioned this. The cost benefit for this project is 10 to 1. Every dollar that we invest, the region brings in $10 of benefits. So that just tells you how huge this is. That's our report for today, and that concludes our presentation. So we will welcome any questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the very important update. If participants from the Borders Committee or COBRO would like to offer any comments or questions, please either turn your camera on or please raise your hand at this time. Okay, Mr. Gustavo de la Fuente, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is just a big thank you to Mario and his team for the incredible work they have been doing. And it's just great to see how everything seems to be coming together now. And of course, the Smart Border Coalition is happy to help promote this project, get involved in some of the things that Mario was talking about that they're going to need. So we're all on board. We love this this project. So I think it's going to bring tremendous breakthroughs for the region, and it's going to make us not only more competitive, but I think it's going to unite us much more. So we're ecstatic to hear this news.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I don't see any other panelists with their hands raised, and I do not see any member of the public with their hands raised. Clerk, if you could just verify that information.
Yes, Vice Chair Moreno, there are no hands raised.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So as we've heard, Otay Mesa 2 is coming along swiftly. Thank you so much for the visuals, specifically the video. Those are really helpful for us. Now, as the co-chair of Borders, I would respectfully request Ms. Maria and Mr. Mario to update the committee, the Borders Committee, as we're entering the advanced stages of this project. This is a project that we're often asked about, and I know members of Borders want to take a leadership role in this project. So if we could work that out with you, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. Actually, we welcome this mandate from the Borders Committee. We really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maria, and thank you so much, Mario. It's always great to see you guys, and we are going to move on to our next item. Do we have any continued public comments, Clerk?
We do not, Vice Chair Moreno.
Okay. And so with that, that moves us on to the next item, item number 9. Our next Borders Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, April 23rd at 12:30. Thank you all for making the time to join us today. We are officially adjourned.